If you don't move.
Okay, ready to roll?
If you don't move.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I came across something this week, which is the perfect cherry on top
Yes.
for something that we learned several weeks ago.
Okay.
So, if you don't mind, we'll review a little bit.
By all means.
Part of what we learned several weeks ago, and then we will take the cherry and put it on top of a very beautiful
Cake.
word of Torah.
Okay.
Okay, so you remember we spoke about anti-Semitism, we spoke about Yaakov Avinu getting ready to, Yaakov Avinu getting ready to meet Yosef.
Oh.
And he makes provisions for war, he makes provisions for peace, he prays. He's scared, he's terribly scared. Vayira Yaakov Mod Vayetzer Lo. Yaakov was scared and he's very distressed. So it says that he's mispalel, he's davens HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the beginning of Parshas Vayishlach. Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav. Save me from the hands of my brother, from the hands of Esav. And the Mefarshim are wondering, why does he seemingly redundant? Miyad ochi miyad Esav. Esav is his brother. Why does he have to specify? Now, I think we mentioned that indeed the Zohar learns from there that when you're being mispalel, when you're praying, you have to be as specific as possible. But still, it's very specific to say Esav. Yaakov is being mispalel that he shouldn't be harmed by Esav. So some of the commentaries say the Beis Halevi, to be specific, is one of those who say that it was clear he's davening not to be hurt by Esav. But there were two aspects of which Yaakov was very afraid. There are two weapons with which Esav was coming. One is the one that was very clear. He was coming with 400 men. He was coming for war. He was coming to kill him. And so that is Hatzileni no miyad Esav. Save me from Esav. But he was also being mispalel Hatzileni no miyad ochi. Save me from the hand of my brother. My brother. Save me from the love of my brother. Save me from the peace overtures of my brother. The Beis Halevi concludes his discussion. The Beis Halevi of Yosef Dos Soloveitchik, the first of the great Soloveitchik dynasty. So he concludes his discussion by saying which weapon, which front was Yaakov Avinu, was Jacob more scared about? Miyad Achi. Because he put that first, Miyad Achi, Miyad Esav. He was more afraid of the love than of the weaponry. He was more afraid of the attachment to Esav. And sure enough, Esav came after him with both weapons.
Why?
Because first he came after him, Esav came after him with the 400 men and the weaponry. Through the efforts of Yaakov Avinu, and of course through divine intervention, he stood down. But at the end he said, hey, Yaakov Avinu, let's go travel together. Now what was that all about? Says the Beis Halevi and other Mefarshim, let's go travel together. So he wasn't going to kill him with war. He wasn't going to kill him with hatred. He was going to kill him with love. And what was Yaakov Avinu's response? He didn't want any part of it. And he told him a story of the kids are young and the flock is young and it's going to be damaging. But Esav came at him with both of these weapons. Similarly, you have the wrestling match with the angel of Esav. So we find Vaye'ovek ish imo, the pasuk says. Vaye'ovek ish imo, that the man, the angel, struggled with him. So the Chassam Sofer says a simple interpretation of Vaye'ovek is that they kicked up dust from the word avak. Dust. They were fighting. They were physically fighting. The Chassam Sofer says that besides the word avak, Vayavku can also is linguistically related to the word chibuk, that he hugged him. And so there was a battle on two levels. There was a battle to the death, both when it comes to the physical offensive and when it comes to the spiritual offensive against Esau. We did not mention a few weeks ago the very beautiful vart, the very beautiful idea of the Yosef Nehemiah Kornitzer, who was the rabbi of Krakow before the Second World War, well before the Second World War. I believe he died in 1933. Yosef Nehemiah Kornitzer, you don't hear his name too much. He was a darshan b'chesed elyon. His ideas on the Chumash they are beautiful. Absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. And listen to the idea that he says in line with this way of thinking. The pasuk is talking about the fight that Yaakov Avinu has with the angel. Yaakov was left all alone. And this man strove with him until the morning. And it became clear that he was not able to best him. And he touched the thigh of Yaakov Avinu, and he dislocated that thigh, that joint. In wrestling with him. And then he said, Shalcheni ka'ol hashachar. And they had the give and take back and forth. He asked him, what's your name? He said, why are you asking me a name? Etc. And then it says that Yaakov named this place Peniel. Ki ra'isi Elokim, panim el panim. I've seen angels, or an angel, face to face, vatinatzel nafshi. And he was saved. The fight's over, right? And then it says, Vayizrach lo hashemesh. The sun dawned for him, kasher avar es Penuel. When he passed this place called Peniel. V'hu tzoleya al yerecho. And he is limping. He's limping.
Yeah.
So you read these psukim, it seems to be out of order. Because wasn't he hurt before? Wasn't he damaged before? It only says that he was limping only after the whole story. Why is it only after the whole story that he's limping? So Rashi, in a long interpretation, seems to be saying that he's limping. He had been limping, and now it becomes apparent that he was limping. So Rashi just takes it a little bit out of order. Says Rabbi Yosef Nehemiah Kornitzer, no. Al Pidrash, read it exactly the way the pasuk expresses it. But take it as a Maisa Avos Simul Labanim. Take it as a pre-enactment, a historic pre-enactment of what was going to happen in the future. Of course, this entire match with Esau is a pre-enactment of Klal Yisrael against their enemies throughout the Golus. Certainly Golus Edom, which is the Golus, the exile from the time of the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash. And in that exile, says Rav Yosef Nehemiah, there were these two fronts. There was, for most of the time, there was the anti-Semitism, which was coming to kill the Jew, to destroy the Jewish people physically.
Why?
Yosef, the Gemara says, halacha, it is a natural fact, b'yadua, it's known, Esav sonei es Yaakov. Esav hates Yaakov. That's from the time they were in the womb, was built into the destiny of the world. Esav sonei es Yaakov. And equally built into the destiny of the world is Esav coming against Yaakov with these two strategies. Physically against Yaakov, and also spiritually, to destroy him spiritually. For most of the exile, it was with the sword. It was with hatred. Says Rav Yosef Nehemiah Kornitzer. However, at the time of the emancipation, at the time of the Enlightenment, things changed. That's when Edom, the descendants of Yosef, the Western world, came against Klal Yisrael, not with hatred, but with love. And in doing so,
called it love.
what's that?
I wouldn't have called it love.
And in doing that, they much of Klal Yisrael during different periods was completely wiped out. Not physically wiped out, not destroyed, not killed, but spiritually destroyed. Spiritually destroyed.
You mean
Therefore,
assimilated?
what's this?
Assimilated?
Assimilated, completely assimilated. Done, finished, most of the time, completely finished from Klal Yisrael. And that's how he interprets this pasuk. Vayizrach lo hashemesh. The light of emancipation dawned. V'hu tzoleya al yarecha. Thousands of years, close to 2,000 years of Jewish history, where Jews were murdered, where Jews were expelled. Klal Yisrael was still whole. They had many, many, many losses, but Klal Yisrael was still whole. Once the Enlightenment dawned, once there was the emancipation, v'hu tzoleya al yarecha. Klal Yisrael was given over and over almost a mortal blow. That's when things got very bad for our people. And that's the golus. That's the exile, as we explained, that we suffer from today. We mentioned that a recent statistic that 72% of non-Orthodox marriages are out of the faith. 72%. You and I remember times where they used to say it's 40%, it's 50%. Today it's 72%. Millennials, 1/3 of all millennial Jews, 1/3 do not consider themselves Jewish. No affiliation. And I could tell you that many of those who are affiliated, their affiliation is nothing. Their affiliation is a Pesach Seder. It's a Hanukkah menorah. It's nothing more than that. Many, many of them. Very minimal affiliation. Extremely minimal affiliation. So this is the Golus. It's so interesting. It's so interesting that the angel of Esav, there is a medrash that says that angel of Esav appeared to Yaakov Avinu. One medrash says as a warrior. That's very clear what that meant. Another comment of the medrash says that he appeared to Yaakov as a scholar. And I think how appropriate it is for this day and age, a scholar, a professor, which unfortunately the institutions of higher learning have taken a major toll on our people, because we ran as a people. We ran, as soon as they were open, we ran to the institutions of higher learning. And in these institutions of higher learning, by and large, it's just been a horror what our people, many of our children, the young, has absorbed. And that's where the action is. Vayiga b'kaf yerech Yaakov. That the angel touched the yerech. What was he doing with the yerech?
The hip.
So the Mefarshim say, what's up with the hip? What's with the hip? The hip is near the source of procreation. He was after the children. He was after destroying the children of Klal Yisrael. That's where the action is at. What's going to be with the next generation? What's going to be with the children? What's going to be with the millennials? What's going to be beyond? So that's the great challenge that we face today. So we mentioned the Rashi, which quotes a medrash at the beginning of Parshas Vayeshev, which is, what's the hope? Things indeed look so bleak. You know, if we're in Lakewood, or we're in New York, Brooklyn, you know, you're in Muncie. Okay, so things all looks well for Klal Yisrael. You step across the bridge, and oy, 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 oy. I mentioned in one of the drushes that I saw a rabbi wrote an article about how things were so weak in America in the 20s and 30s, and now things have turned around to such a great extent. So I said to myself,
He's thinking
you know,
about Lakewood.
he's
New
thinking
York.
about Lakewood and Muncie and Brooklyn. I live in Manalapan, and in my world, we're still back in the 1920s, 1930s, where things are so schwach, and we see there are horror stories all over the place. It's still a pretty very bleak situation. So what's the hope? What's the hope? So Rashi in the beginning of Vayeshev, also having to do with the struggle of Yaakov and Esav, where the Torah is listing the progeny of Yaakov. It interrupts listing the progeny of Yaakov with the Alufei Esav, with all the chieftains and the families of Esav. And then, that's the end of Vayishlach. And in the beginning of Vayeshev, it starts talking about Yaakov again. And it says, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Mugorei Oviv be'eretz Canaan. Eila told us Yaakov, and now we're speaking about the history of Yaakov, and it starts out, interestingly enough, Yosef ben Sheva Esrei Shana. Yosef was 17, Hayaro Etzel. Okay. So Rashi is wondering, according to many of the super commentaries, many of the commentaries on Rashi, Rashi is wondering why the break with Esav. You started talking about Yaakov, then you start talking about Esav, and then you go back to the family of Yaakov again. Why is it structured in that way? Why don't you, speaking about Yaakov, speak about Yaakov. And if you want to speak about Esav first. Why is Yaakov, you begin with Yaakov, and then you go off into Esav, and then back to Yaakov. So Rashi, in his second interpretation, says, Hapishtani hazeh, this flax dealer, nichnasu gemalav te'unim pishtan. He comes into the auction, he comes into the flea market, and he's laden with flax. Hapachami tama, the fellow who's got the coals, he's selling coals, he's astounded. He's offended. He doesn't know what's going on here. He has this little stand, and he's selling his coals to make fire. And all of a sudden, this guy next to him, he takes the stall next to him, he takes the stall to the right side and to the left, to the front and the back, and he's closing them in. And he's all nervous. Oh no, Yichanes kol a pishtan. I said, where's he going to put all this pishtan? He's going to crowd me out. So, there was a wise man, he walked by. He sees what's going on here. This guy's got his little stand, and the fellow is unloading truckloads of flax, and he sees the guy with the stand. Yes. He's getting all nervous. He's all upset. So he says, I don't know why you're upset. The wise man says, I don't know why you're upset. He said, Nitzos echad yotze mimapuach shelcha shesorif eskula. One little spark is going to fly out from your mapuach, from your blower of coals. It's going to light the whole thing on fire. Kach Yaakov, so Yaakov. Ra'a kol ha'alufim haksuvim l'malo. Yaakov Avinu, he sees all the chieftains coming from Esav, all the might, all the power. Tamavi Amar. He's astounded. He's astounded. Sometimes, talk about the institutes of higher learning. So sometimes I walk by I drive by some of these institutions, and the money that these institutions have is just not. It's not to be believed. I mean, my parents live on the University of Scranton campus. They have 6,000 students. It's not a big school. There's 6,000 students, right? The buildings that they have, what they've built, the money that they have. It's just unbelievable. And you think the the philosophies that they are teaching in these schools, like, do we have a chance of influencing them with our little two-by-nothing schools? They're going to overcome us. They're going to completely crowd us out. How is it possible? That's Yaakov Avinu. That's the Jewish people. How are we going to do this? We're so small. Our voice is so small. What are we going to do? Miyochel lichvos es kulan. Is it possible we're going to defeat all of them? Maksiv lamato. What is written above? Eila told us Yaakov Yosef. So it interrupted Yaakov to bring in the challenge of the chieftains of Esav. And then it goes back to Yaakov and says, Eila, this is the offspring of Yaakov, Yosef. We have Yosef. Pasuk says in Zechariah, V'hoya beis Yaakov eish. I'm sorry, in Ovadia. V'hoya beis Yaakov eish. The house of Yaakov is fire, beis Yosef lahava. And the house of Yosef is a flame, ubeis Esav lakash. House of Esav, straw. Nitzutz yotze mi Yosef. So one spark is going to come out of Yosef. Shemachalav v'sarif is cool. It's going to burn up the whole thing. So we explained at that time. The commentaries say, Rabbi Shlomo Volba has a beautiful essay. It doesn't mean that the spark is going to come from Yosef and destroy Esav. What it means is the spark of wisdom, of the Torah, Ki mitzion teisei Sorah, from Zion will come teaching, and that will light up the world, and that will change. And therefore all that spark will fell all the errant philosophies, all the negative theologies, all the teaching which is against God and against this Torah, against humanity. The light of Yosef is going to shine. So this week I came across a most beautiful essay from Reb Zalman Sorotzkin that focuses us here. Why is it Yosef? Okay, the spark is going to come from Yosef. But why is it Yosef exactly? And is Yosef all of Klal Yisrael? It bothered me. It's Yosef. It's one of the 12 tribes. That's not all of Klal Yisrael. So the way it says, Beis Yaakov Eish. Yaakov is the fire. Yosef is Lahava. Yosef is the flame. And the sparks are going to come out from Yosef. And where does Yosef sit in relation to all of Klal Yisrael? I wasn't sure how to explain this. Well, in this week's parsha, Parshas Vayechi, we have Yaakov Avinu about to pass away. And he summons Yosef, and Yosef comes with Ephraim and Menashe, his two star students. And we have the famous words, Vayevorachem bayom hahu, and he blessed them on that day, Lemor, saying as follows, B'cho Yevorech Yisrael, in you, through you, Israel will be blessed. Lemor, saying the following, Rashi on B'cho Yevorech Yisrael, Habo Levorech es banav, a father or a mother comes to bless their child, Yevorchem b'birchasam, he will bless, or she will bless them with this bracha, with their bracha. V'yomer ish liveno. And a parent is going to say to a son, Yesimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim v'chim Menashe. God should make you like Ephraim and Menashe. Why is this the blessing? And I repeat that with a little emphasis. Why is this the blessing? Yesimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim v'chim Menashe. There are a lot of other great people in our history. Why them? So here's the essay. V'hinei Chazal Dorshin. Chazal, our sages nearby, they have explained. Sherotza Yaakov legalas hasaketz. Yaakov is talking about the future. He wanted to tell them how things are going to unfold towards the end of time. Mashma. It seems, Shara be'enei ruach es hagolios ad haketz. He saw the exiles until the ultimate end, until the time of Mashiach. Ra es b'nei Israel, he saw the Jewish people mefuzarim umefuradim dispersed, b'daled kanfos haaretz, the four corners of the world. Es haradifos, the pursuits, v'hagezeros, she'umas olam gozos aleim, and all the decrees that the nations would decree against them. Ra'ah, he also saw, es hashchaso hanafshis, the assimilation, shalahem, ekev hagolos v'haradifos, because of the golos and the radifos. Now, we recently had the Haftorah for Shabbos Chanukah. Very unusual passage there. It has the Yoshua Kohen Gadol is met by a malach, and the malach is remonstrating against Yeshua Kohen Gadol, and he's got dirty clothes on. He says to him, "You have dirty clothes on," meaning your children are not going in your way. This is, by the way, this is a prophecy said about the return of the second Beis Hamikdash, the second Beis Hamikdash, where things were really bad. Assimilation and intermarriage was really bad. The few people that came back to Eretz Yisrael to build the second Beis Hamikdash, half of them were intermarried. It was a horrible situation spiritually. So the angel comes and the angel says, "You're no good. Yeshua Kohen Gadol, your children are involved in such things," he says to him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Leave him alone." This is phenomenal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Leave him alone. Don't you know he's an Ud Mutzol Mi Eish?" Very famous line. Ud Utzol. He's a firebrand, which is saved from the fire. Ud Mutzol Mi Eish. What does that mean? What it means is, when there's exile, when there's dislocation, there's no infrastructure, there are no schools, there's no shuls, there's no kosher meat, there's no mikveh, there's nothing. That's why, the turn of the last century, people didn't want to come to these shores. That's why many of the rabbis, late 1800s, don't go to America. You go to America, there's nothing there. It's a treifa Medina. And you know something? It was a treifa Medina. In the late 1800s, the wave of immigration from Eastern Europe, many of them were very religious people. But within 18 years, by 1908, 90% of those people, very little relationship to religion. They threw it all away. Not they threw it all away. Some of them threw it away on the boat over. But many of them, it wasn't really possible. The institutions were not there. That's what Hashem's saying to the Malach. You're screaming at Yeshua Kohen Gadol, his children are intermarried. He's a Ud Mutzal Ni'esh. There was dislocation. Things were like too impossible. They were too hard. It's almost natural that this is going to happen. It's going to happen that way. So, Yaakov Avinu, so he saw the Bnei Yisrael mefuzarim uvufradim bedal kafos art spread out the whole world. As the redifos v'agzeros, the pursuits and the decrees. But also he saw Ra gamis hashchos hanafshes shalahem, the assimilation, ekev hagolos haradifos, because of that exile and those pursuits. Re'ei
Ephraim and Menashe did not.
Ephraim and Menashe did not. Re'ei sherabim chalolim hipila hagolos b'Yisrael. Many people succumbed to this golus. Chalalei haguf, mortally wounded, al kedushas Hashem. They gave their bodies al kedushas Hashem. They were killed al kedushas Hashem. V'ra'ah she'atzumin haruge hagolus. Yaakov Avinu saw the deaths, those people who were killed in the golus. It was awesome. It was many. Hamesim misim neshika. Those who died, the kiss of death. They died through the kiss. Misas neshama, the death of the soul. V'guf kaim, the bodies were still alive. Umisbolavim ba'amim, they assimilated into the nations. Asher hi'iru lahem panim v'hizminu osam. Those nations which their face shined towards them, they welcomed them. V'hizminu osam. And they invited them, Lios la'am echad. Let's be one nation. V'ha'emancipatio b'chol hadoros. At the emancipation. Hipila chalalu b'Yisrael yoser mikol hashchitos v'hapogromim. It took a greater toll than all of the slaughter and all of the pogroms. Listen to this line. This is horrific. Ve'ein lecha am. You do not have a nation. She'ein dam Yehudim nishpach al yodo. You don't have a nation out there that didn't kill Jews. V'she'ein dam Yehudim ma'urav b'banav. And also that the blood of Jews is not mixed into their bloodline. So you have them having murdered Jews, and by the same token, having intermarried with Jews. V'Yakov shehikdim lehispalel. And Yaakov, who previously davened, Hatzileni no miyad ochi, save me from the hand of my brother. He's learning that just like the Beis HaLevi's learning that. Hamazmin osi lios imo la'am echad, who's preparing me, who's inviting me to be one people. V'rak achar kach miyad Esav. Then he prays, keep me away from the hands of Esav, Hashofek Damim, who's a spiller of blood. So this Yaakov Avinu, who had this on his mind, that's his prayer when it comes to Esav. Ra es Ephraim u'Menashe, like Mrs. Susher says. He saw Menashe and Ephraim. B'nei HaMenashe, B'nei HaMishnah L'melech, They were the children of the viceroy. Asher kol heichole hamada psuchim lifneihem. All the halls of science were open to them. The universities of Egypt were open to them. V'chol hamisharos b'memshala, and all offices of the nation. Penuyos ba'adam, they were open to them. V'chol hanesichim hayochoshim es atam l'mu'usharim, and all the important people, they would have considered themselves very happy, l'seislam es banoseim l'nashim, to give their daughters for Ephraim and for Menashe the best catch in the world. U'lemoros zeh, and a contradistinction to this. What did they do? Menashe and Ephraim, what did they choose to do? Once Yaakov Avinu came to Goshen, they went to study with him. Beghetto HaYehudi, in the Jewish ghetto. Ve'eno misnakrim la'amon. They did not turn their back on their people. Ukasher nigzra, and subsequently, kasher nigzra avodas perach alachehem, and when there was a decree of harsh labor against their brothers, hey mitztarfim al tzoras, v'seivel klal Yisrael, what did they do? They joined together with their brothers, they joined together with their people. Ve'enam hochem el Mitzrayim lema, they didn't go to Mitzrayim to say, anachnu noladnu b'Mitzrayim, we're Egyptians. They didn't say that. V'avinu hamishna lamelech, and our father was the viceroy. Hitzel es haaretz, he saved the land thereof. V'hesher osa, and he enriched it. Lefikach magias lanu, privilegios, and therefore we should have privileges. We don't want to be part of these people. Elahei makablim aleim es ol hagolus, but rather they accepted upon themselves the yoke of golus v'hashibud yachem machehem, and the subservience together with their brothers. Ozomer Yaakov. So it's because of this that Yaakov Avinu said, Halavai sheyikchu b'nei Yisrael l'mofesis b'nei Yosef. Who is the model? Who is the picture? Please listen to these words. Who's the picture for all of Klal Yisrael? Every Jewish home. Who is the model? Yisimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim v'Menashe. So Beis Yaakov is Eish. Beis Yaakov is fire. But Beis Yosef is Lahava. That's the flame. The flame, the fire of Yaakov is kept alive by the flame of Yosef. The fire of Yaakov by the flame of Yosef. Because they are the model for us throughout the generations. Shenoldu b'Mitzrayim, they were born in Mitzrayim, kibnei malachim, as kings, as princes. Es mesirosam la'am v'taraso. They are the model for their giving over, for their people, and for Hashem's Torah. And therefore we say, B'cho Yivorech Yisrael Leimor, Yisimcha Elokim, Ke'Ephraim v'chem Menashe. Hashem should make you like Ephraim v'chem Menashe. So it is all of Klal Yisrael. But they're the ones that we look to. Nobody else could we look to, except of course Yosef. They were the perfect students of their father Yosef. That was some incredible family. Later on, Parsha Shmos, we're going to read next week. Ve'elu Shmos b'nei Yisrael haboim Mitzrayma. These are the names. Start listing those people who came to Mitzrayim. And then it says, Vayamas Yosef b'chol echov v'chol hador hahu. Yosef dies, and all of the people. I'm sorry, before that. Vayihi kol nefesh yotze Yerach Yaakov shivim nefesh. 70 people came down. V'Yosef hayu b'Mitzrayim. Now, if there's anything we know from Sefer Bereshis, we know that Yosef was in Mitzrayim. Why does it have to say that Yosef was in Mitzrayim? Of course Yosef was in Mitzrayim. Says Rashi here. V'alohu ubanav hayu b'chlal shivim. What is this coming to teach us? He's part of the 70. We know he's in Mitzrayim. Why does it have to say that? This tells the righteousness of Yosef. Who Yosef, he is the same Yosef. Haroa es tzon aviv. He's a shepherd. He's a pasha yid out in the field, tending to his father's flock. Who Yosef shehoy b'Mitzrayim. He's Yosef that was sold down to slavery in Mitzrayim. He's Yosef who was tempted by Eshes Potiphar and accused of all sorts of things. He's Yosef that V'nasa Melech, he became king, and he was tempted by all the women of Mitzrayim. Bein Paras Yosef, Bein Paras Olei Oyin. There were women throwing themselves at him. V'omid B'tzitko. And he stood in his righteousness. Menashe and Ephraim were the sons of Yosef. So that's the blessing. Simcha Elokim ke'Ephraim Menashe. That's the fire of the flame of Yosef, which is the fire of Klal Yisrael. We keep those children, we keep them whole. We keep the flame burning in a major way, like Ephraim and Menashe. So then, we have the fire of Klal Yisrael, the fire of Yaakov, and then things will be well.
Who was their mother?